Beautiful, right? I have your approval.
Yes, sir.
I have your approval. We're not going to get better than him. You're right about it. You're right. 100%. Thank you.
I'm cut. Mr. President, that wraps it up for the evening. Do you have any closing
No,
statements?
I missed most
I
of it.
just want to say that
I
it was
rewind
very
this shit.
important that I got to North Carolina. Laura, my daughter-in-law, gave me the most beautiful grandchildren. But Laura's here. I don't know if she's right here or where is Laura. Would you come out here? She is absolutely the great. Come on up here. Come on. She comes from right around here, and she loves this state. And you better be careful because I'm going to blame her if anything happens in this
That's
state.
true.
I'm gonna
But
blame
we're going to win North Carolina, are we not? I am from right down the street a little ways in Wilmington, North Carolina, where I was born and raised. And I know I don't even have to ask this audience this question, but are we ready to send Donald J. Trump back to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? All right. Here's what I need from everybody. You might know that I am right now the co-chair of the RNC, thanks to my father-in-law calling me one evening. But here's how we are going to make it too big to rig. Here's how we're going to swamp the vote. Is everyone in here registered to vote? If you are not, go right now to swampthevoteusa.com and get registered. Go vote early and take every person you know to go vote early. We will win this big league, as Donald Trump says, on November 5th. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys. I love you, North Carolina. Thank you.
I have to thank you because you gave me really a great daughter-in-law. She's really special. And she's along with Michael, who's here, Michael Watley. They're essentially the co-chairman of the Republican Party. This is a very upwardly mobile person. She's doing good. But you know the truth? She's so good. I'm very conscious of, nepotism. But when I did with her, I recommended her. All I did was recommend, and everybody couldn't believe she was even doing it. She is really a person that's incredible. She's respected by everybody. They love her. She comes from here, and there's no place she likes better than North Carolina. So get out there and vote in honor of this wonderful person. Where's Michael? Will you get up here, Michael, please? Don't worry about the time. The networks will stay with us, right? Michael, would you say a few words? So Michael Watley, I guess I like North Carolina because he was the head of the Republican Party. We won the state twice. And last time, when all of a sudden around 3:02 in the morning, we started to fall off on a lot of things, it was ridiculous. But with this state, there was no fall off. He had 602 lawyers working for him. And I said, who the hell is the guy that did such a good job in North Carolina? Because we were leading in Pennsylvania. We were leading all the way along. And these people will do it. They have no shame. And he did the job. And I said, I want to get him. And he's chairman of essentially the Republican Party. And I just doing a great job. But I don't want to say it too early. Let's wait till November 6th. I want to wait till the morning after, right? Then I feel confident that we'll say it. But so Michael is from North Carolina. He was the head of your party, and he did a great job, and he went to the top. And please say a few words, Michael. So to win North Carolina, we are going to get out the vote. We are going to protect the ballot. We are going to expand our majority in the House. We are going to flip the Senate. And we are going to send Donald J. Trump back to the White House as the 47th President of the United States. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everybody from Fort Bragg. Thank you.
I'm about to rewind this. I know there's only a couple views in here, but I'm about to rewind it because I didn't catch the whole speech. But I'm telling you right now, and what's happening in North America right now, the conservatives, the Republican side, are kicking liberals and Democrats' asses right now. There's so much going on in politics right now. Even up in Canada right now, and their politics is wild because they like they sit in Parliament and bicker back and forth like on some gangster shit. The way how they be throwing the left and rights back and forth to each other. And one thing I've goddamn observed, the leaders are which are on the liberal side, on the left side of the things, those people, if you actually like look at them, if you just look at them, they're off than a motherfucker. There's something wrong with them. Just something's not computing right with these motherfuckers. And I've been saying for the last few years, you know why they hag people who don't believe in they shit so much? Do you know why? Because they need us. They're fucking succubus. They need us. That's why everything's victim mentality with them. Oh, you're doing good. Well, what about the person that's not doing good? Oh, what about the person far from where, you just never know. It's just you never know, a bunch of motherfuckers. Fairy tale ass motherfuckers. I'm about to rewind this shit. I'm glad that we're starting to see a change in the culture. And you know what else? The fucking conservatives in Canada have called out the liberals for using AI to manipulate shit. When I heard that shit, I was like, ding, bing, bing. Cause a lot of shit we seeing ain't real. They using a lot of AI to fuck with the fuck with the shit that we see, especially on social media. A lot of people y'all arguing with ain't even real people. You be fucking surprised. I'm rewinding this though, because I didn't hear. I got like the last 5 minutes of the speech, so I want to actually listen to his speech here. I actually like the JD Vance dude. I think the JD Vance dude isn't that bad. The Waltz dude, you got to be a fucking doodle bird. So I'm saying, like, these motherfuckers are stupid.
And migrant children that have gone missing. Just real quick, how many parents are in this room? How many women are in this room that support Trump?
Let me rewind that back a little bit.
Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you. Beautiful guy. Beautiful guy. I think I'm going to stand. This chair is the most uncomfortable chair I've had. First of all, it spins. And the one thing I don't want is to fall on my ass, because that's going to be... That will be the only story. They'll say, sir, you did great. Too bad you fell. That would be the only story. So I'm not sitting in that sucker. I think it's a booby trap. That was put there by Kamala.
Trump a goddamn fool, man. Trump is a fool for that one.
Well, that brings me to my next question. So you're talking on immigration and border security. So we all know that that's tied to national security. And the one thing that ticks me off is you have Kamala Harris, who runs on the fact that she's a minority woman. But yet she's done nothing about the 300,000 migrant children that have gone missing. Just real quick, how many parents are in this room? How many women are in this room that support Trump? As mothers, grandmothers, sisters, wives, would you ever tolerate children being trafficked? If you were in Kamala's position, wouldn't you have stopped that? President Trump, you've done more for not just the Hispanic American community, but I think women in this country, not just, I'm just going to toot his horn for a second. He's put women in positions of power, but the media won't cover that. They won't, because it doesn't fit their narrative. They want women to hate him, but guess what? We don't hate him, we love him, don't we?
But I don't do it really for a pure, really great reason. I just do it because I want results. And I just find women to be smarter than men. Does that make sense? Men, you don't mind I do that every once in a while. It's not bad. Thank you.
Well, Mr. President, to follow up on that question, as a grandfather and a father, what are you going to do to stop the trafficking of women and children in this country, and specifically with the migrant children as well?
So we had it down to the lowest number. You saw that on the graph. That included drugs. That included trafficking in women, mostly women and children. But you mentioned a number. It's, to be exact, 325,000. Now think of that. You could fill up the biggest stadiums many times with this. 325,000 children are missing during the Biden reign. Now let's say her, because they made her, and you know it's funny, when you say Harris, right? Nobody knows who the hell I'm talking about. You say the Harris team, who nobody knows. You have to say Kamala. So Kamala. But Kamala
Was this the
and
start?
Biden,
What the fucking
325,000
start?
just during this almost 4-year reign. That's missing, but many of them are dead. Many of them are in. Now somebody running as a radical left person, you know, more left by far than Pocahontas, more, you know who that is, more left by far than crazy Bernie Sanders. She's more left, and we can't have it. So we're than crazy Bernie Sanders. She's more left, and we can't have it. So we're going to take care of your people and your friends. You got a lot of friends out there that don't have a place. And we're going to do it, and we're going to do it faster. We're going to put money to it. First of all, we're standing on the greatest power. It's called liquid gold. We have more than any other country. We don't use it. We get oil and gas now from Venezuela. Do you believe it? We're going to take our own, and we're going to make a lot of money. So we're going to make a lot of money. We're going to take care of our veterans properly. We're not going to have that happen anymore, okay?
Thank you, Dwight.
And we're going to make a lot of money.
Beautiful guy. I think I'm going to stand. This chair is the most uncomfortable chair I've had. First of all, it spins. And the one thing I don't want is to fall on my speak to Elon, and he endorsed me very strongly. He endorses me almost every day. He wants us to win so badly. But Elon is a brilliant guy between the Tesla and this, that, the rockets. But he also does something called, you know, the links, Starlinks. So he has Starlinks. Now, I'm not too familiar with it. All I know is it's really supposed to be great. So they call, because in North Carolina and parts of North, and a little bit Georgia, but in parts of North Carolina, every line is down. There was no calls, no anything. Nobody could get through to anybody. And I got a call from a big person in North Carolina. Could you possibly call Elon Musk, because we need help with Starlinks? Could we get Starlinks, you know, really? And I did, and he was great. And, you know, he did something that was, he had it ordered. I got a call during my phone call. They called me up, the people from North Carolina, and they said, thank you very much for helping us with Mr. Musk. I was talking to him. He wasn't off the phone. I said, you have some kind of a thing that we're talking and you're ordering people? This was the craziest thing. No, he's like, I'm talking to you. So, Elon, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll see you. He's going to Butler tomorrow. You know, Elon is going to Butler. But I asked him about Starlinks. Would you be able to get a certain section of Georgia? They're going to fly them in with helicopters and everything else. Would you be able? And as I'm talking to him, they're calling me on the other line, thanking me for getting it. So I got to ask him what the hell that was all about, right? He's probably got some little contraption that he's going like this as he's talking to him. He's incredible, that guy, I'll tell you. But he got a tremendous for Georgia and for North Carolina, the Starlinks. They got to, here's the one thing they have to do. They have to distribute it. They have to get it out there. He got it here. But they have to get it out there. They're not getting it out. That's FEMA. They've got to get it out. So important. But he's really done a great job, so we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for all you're doing continuously. Our next question is from Pete, who is a Marine Corps veteran, and his question is going to be covering the withdrawal of Afghanistan. Pete?
Mr. President, I am Pete from North Carolina, and also a Latino for Trump.
Thank you. I knew I liked him.
And I proudly served in the United States Marine Corps, first as enlisted
That's great. Thank
and
you.
as an officer. Despite what the Vice President says, we sadly lost 13 under her watch. As sick as me, many of my fellow Marines, as well as my friend, Lieutenant Colonel there has been zero accountability for the terrible withdrawal. What will you do to make sure we have accountability for what happened?
Okay, it's great. It's like I know more about that subject than any subject we spoke about because I think it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. There was never anything. I don't think Putin would have gone in and invaded Ukraine if that didn't happen. He saw that. He said, "Hey, these people are stupid people. They're idiots." And you know, they only respect power and force. When they saw that, by the way, if I were president, Putin would have never done it. Period. And you would have never had the attack, and you wouldn't have had inflation, and you wouldn't have had the problem that we're talking about. Because you know, I had it down to 5,000. I was getting out. They were there for 20 years. But a couple of things were done wrong. Number one, they should have kept the military base, right, Bagram? So you have a military base, one of the largest bases in the world. We left it. It's 1 hour, forget about Afghanistan. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons, okay? You gotta keep that. And they didn't. They fled. They left. We had, as you know, 18 months. I called up Abdul. Abdul is the head of the Taliban. That's the ones that do the shooting, okay? Not the Afghans. It's called the Taliban. And the press said, why would you call him? Because that's where the shooting is. And I called him up. We didn't have, it was nasty. We didn't have one soldier killed because they were killing a lot of our soldiers, the snipers, and a lot of them with the Obama-Biden administration before I got there. And a lot of them, and I called them up, had a rough call, and after that call, we didn't have one soldier killed.
I find it funny also how Trump always answers the toughest questions. They ask him the most toughest questions, but when it comes to fucking Kamala and them, it's always fucking what was the bathtub bullshit, greens and all that stupid shit and dumb shit. Don't ask her no fucking real questions.
One soldier shot at for 18 months.
And they know why. Because they know that broad dumb as shit.
And then we had a terrible election. We're not going to let that happen again. We can't ever let that happen again. We're not going to have what a shame that we had an election and these guys took over and it all started up again. And what they did with that withdrawal was so bad. Number one, we lost 13 great soldiers, and as you know, I know the parents of a lot of them, but we lost the soldiers. We left $85 billion worth of equipment behind. We left Americans behind. Everything was wrong, and we embarrassed our country. I really mean, I think it was the most embarrassing. The one thing you do is you take the soldiers out last. Okay, they took the soldiers out first. A 5-year-old child would tell you that. The other thing you do is you fire every general that was involved in that case because those guys were incompetent. And you haven't heard the last of that, I promise you.
They are. If I got a minute here, I'm going to play some of this shit to show you how incompetent and the fucking... It's almost like you're dealing with adults and liberals are the fucking babies. Oh, but... Well, if some fairy tale shit... They're fucking retarded. And you know what's fucked up? Being raised in the hood... It's almost like we're taught, it's almost like some fucking trickery. We're taught to fucking believe in these motherfuckers are here to help us. But these motherfuckers are here, they're like fucking SS soldiers. They're there to spy on us and shit. They keep us down in there. These motherfuckers, I'm telling you, just crooked. Just crooked. Even the goofy I seen this goofy motherfucker came out for the liberal side today. And as a man, some of the dumb, how they look, how they talk, they don't speak for me as a fucking man. I'm sick and tired of having people who shouldn't be in place of people who have voices. They just shouldn't. Motherfucker look like he should be playing with baby blocks and shit. I'll show you if I get some fucking time.
What a terrible thing that was. Worst, one of the most embarrassing, me as a person that loves our country, that was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, in my opinion. Thank you.
Dude looked like, you know them fucking corny ass fucking neckbeard motherfuckers that got no say in their relationship and they dress their kid up in plaid and fucking and plaid and shit. Yeah, and little funny little hat, some weird shit, just something off. They're awkward, they stand funny, can't stand straight when they talk. Something's weird. Them motherfuckers, they can't speak for a nigga like me. Shut the fuck up. Get out of my face. I don't even want to hear these motherfuckers talk.
We're gonna take care of that. I gotta get back in.
He dressed like how you dress a 6-year-old boy.
Mr. President is such a good title for him, isn't it?
You do know she's a congresswoman.
I seen
right?
this motherfucker today and I
Respected
couldn't believe it.
She's actually a killer with her husband and the most beautiful baby you've ever seen backstage. But she's a congresswoman from Florida, and I have to say she's a highly respected person.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Mr. President, our next question is from Terry in regards to military pay, and Terry is from the 82nd Airborne.
Mr. President, thank you for being here. My name is Terry. I have had the honor of serving with the mighty 82nd Airborne. I'm also a proud member of the Lumbee tribe. The largest tribe in North Carolina, we have one of the highest percentage of military service in the nation, a higher percentage of the overall population. My question, sir, is about military pay. You provided the largest pay raise in history to our military. Unfortunately, we have seen inflation skyrocket, and more service members and veterans are on fixed incomes and are finding it hard to pay for basics like grocery. What will you commit to increase military pay and bring down prices?
Yeah, very good, Terry. I appreciate it too, and it's very unfair. So I gave the largest pay.
I see they made the deal with the docs. When that I don't know, I can't remember dude's name, but I seen the interview. That was some mob boss shit. He was like, yeah, Joe Biden called me. I was like, oh shit. He's like, yeah, we got to get this down. If things don't get the way we want to, then y'all ain't about to get nothing on the East Coast all the way down to New Orleans. Y'all fucked. He stood his goddamn ground. I was like, yeah, he's somebody when he came out of nowhere. No one ever seen dude ever before. He said, yeah, the president called me. He called him by name. He didn't even say president. He was like, yeah, Joe Biden, well, that Biden called me. I was like, oh yeah, he wasn't playing. He was gonna shut that shit down. And I've been hearing some crazy shit. Maybe we'll get into in the further videos. I've been hearing some crazy stories about the dockyards.
Pay raise in the history of the military, and I thought that was wonderful. But then when these clowns came in, these incompetent fools came in, they allowed inflation, and because of the energy policies,
they created that
but
shit.
Also because of their spending, but they allowed.
Here's the fucked up thing: they didn't allow it; they fucking created it. Point blank. Period.
Massive inflation, so your pay stayed here, and you were happy, and then all of a sudden the cost of bacon doubled, and the cost of everything else
cost of
doubled,
everything,
and tripled and quadrupled. Interest rates went to 10%, so you could no longer. We were at 2%, and they went to 10%, so you could no longer buy a house. So many things happened. The answer is yes. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of our law enforcement, and you know who else I'm going to take care of? Our teachers. Our teachers are very underpaid. We're going to take care of our teachers. Okay. Going to take care. And I did it. I felt strongly. But, you know, the fact is that they got wiped out. What we gave you got wiped out by their inflation that they should have never had. That's another thing. You would have never had inflation because it was caused largely by really dumb energy. The energy went through the sky. That brought everything with it. So we're going to take care. But law enforcement also and your teachers. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President. We now have time for one last question. So our last question.
Make this a good one.
Our last one comes from Matthew. Matthew? He was an F-15 pilot. I won't hold that against you.
Here, I got it. Mr. President, first off, I want to speak on behalf of everyone here and say thank you for taking time tonight to speak with our troops.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We got a lot of good-looking men in this audience, don't we? Huh?
Also, have y'all caught, because him saying Mr. President, y'all notice the media is doing this thing with Donald Trump where they're playing this whole former president, but they still call Barack Obama president? They're trying to seek it in people's heads. Oh, that's the bad guy there. That's the bad guy. The former president. You know, the former president. Bitch, they all former presidents. Unless you current.
A lot of good-looking women also, by the way. Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to revisit something you've talked about already. My name is Matt Lohmeyer. I was an Air Force F-15 pilot, and I was a commander in your newly created U.S. Space Force. I am also the first veteran of the Space Force because under the Biden-Harris regime, I was fired from my command and lost my pension for criticizing DEI trainings that were rampant in the military. Those trainings are still dividing our troops, and thank you for saying you would fire those few woke generals who are a big problem.
They're gone.
I'm going to suggest that it might, in fact, require ongoing oversight and a persistent, consistent, watchful eye within the Pentagon to ensure this monster never returns to the Defense Department. Will you consider establishing a special task force, office, or position to ensure that these monsters never return to the Defense Department?
You know what I'll do? And I'm pretty good at this stuff. Sometimes you get it wrong. I'm going to put you on that task force. I think it's good. Not going to do better than him. I'll put you on. Make sure you give the name. Thank you. Beautiful, right? I have your approval.
Yes, sir.
I have your approval. We're not going to get better than him. You're right about it. You're right. 100%. Thank you.
I'm cut. Mr. President, that wraps it up for the evening. Do you have any closing statements to everyone?
Well, I just want to say that it was very important that I got to North Carolina. You know, Laura, my daughter-in-law, gave me the most beautiful...
Listen, I want to see something here real quick. This J.D. Vance shit. This is J.D. Vance speaks in Battleground State. Oh, he went to Georgia. Okay, let me hear. Hold up.
We'll send you out live to Georgia. Senator J.D. Vance just coming to the podium now.
I didn't know much about Vance up until recent. I would say about a week or so ago. I'm actually starting to like dude a little bit. Pause.
We're going to turn this country red, and we're going to put Donald J. Trump back in the White House.
Because to me, I feel like when I've listened to Vance, he kind of offsets what, not me, but what other people don't like about Trump. I feel like he's kind of like the fucking the peanut butter to the jelly kind of thing. They kind of fit each other well.
We have great
Well, that's the fucking audio fucked up.
But most importantly, I'm thrilled to be joined by my lovely wife, Usha. Usha, thank you so much, honey, for being here. We have got another great, strong woman leader in Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I know we're in her district. Where's Marjorie? Please say hello. Now, you may not know this, but one of the very first endorsements, and frankly, the first really important endorsement that I got was when I was running in the Republican Senate primary in Ohio a few years ago, was from Marjorie Taylor Greene. So she's been a great friend of mine. She's a loyal person. And you guys have a hell of a congresswoman here in Marjorie. We've got the great Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Burt, thank you so much, man, for being here. And you guys, we got not just Congresswoman Greene, but you've got a great person running for Congress in the state of Georgia, Brian Jack. Brian, please say hello to everybody. Thank you, man. So, one of the things that we have got to do better is that we have got to stop the crazy policies in this country that cause mills like the one that we're standing at right now to get shut down, to get closed down, and to get shipped overseas. I read a little bit about this mill, and Marjorie told me a little bit about it when I arrived. This was once, for over 100 years, a place where we made great American products with proud American craftsmanship. We made blue jeans in this factory. We made things that the United States needed, and we did it with American workers. And now this mill, and I'm so proud of the Silva family for buying it, rehabilitating it, and turning it into an event center. That's a great thing. But it should still be making great American products, and it's not because of a failure of American leadership. I mean, think of this. You can almost imagine proud American workers coming here, going to work, building a life, going back home and raising a family. And now, as I understand it, film sometimes literal horror shows. Because what happened to American manufacturing was an actual horror. What we did to this nation, what we did to this proud American tradition of craftsmanship was a disgrace. And if the presidency of Donald J. Trump represents anything, my friends, and if the future presidency of Donald J. Trump represents anything, it is that we are getting back to stamping more products made in the USA. We're going to make our own stuff, and we're going to do it with American working people.
We're going to make our own stuff. Yeah, America!
Now, we got to remember that, while Kamala Harris, she runs from the media, and she runs for the American people, this is a person who has the audacity to stand before the American people and say that on day one, she's going to fix the very problems that Kamala Harris created.
We're going to make stuff. We're going to own stuff. We're going to fix stuff. We're going to believe in stuff. Yeah, America.
Now, Marjorie and I haven't been in politics for long enough to be this shameless. Maybe if we've been in politics for 30 years, we could stand as the sitting vice president and tell people that we're going to do something on day one. Well, Kamala Harris, you've been vice president for 3.5 years. Day one was 1,400 days ago. What the hell have you been doing with all that authority the American people gave you? Get to work and stop talking about what you're going to do. Go ahead and do it. Now, and let's just talk about the record of Kamala Harris. When she was in the United States Senate and Donald Trump was...
Hey, am I the only one that's tripping over the black lady? It's the wig. It's the whole wig. That's it. Nothing else. Just the wig. Just the wiggy. She keep it wiggy. That's it.
Undoing the terrible NAFTA trade deal that destroyed a lot of American factories. Kamala Harris was voting and fighting to preserve NAFTA. What a disgrace. This is the person who says that if we make her president, she's going to fight for working people. But when she was in the United States Senate, she stabbed working people in the back every single day, and she's going to do it again. So what is our message to Kamala Harris and to the media that's trying to install her as the next president? Our message is...
Man, there's a motherfucking video going around. I seen it. It was a Kamala Harris advertisement. This bitch trying to do some DC superhero pose thing, but she's doing this pose to the camera like she's serious. I told you I was a black woman. What didn't I? It's like I can't fucking do it. I'm not her. But it's like this it's fucking funny. Like, I can't take it serious, but the Kamala lickers are probably like, woohoo, that's right. She worked hard, so she worked harder, so Kamala can get there. That stupid fucking thing.
Kamala Harris, you're fired. Go back to San Francisco where you belong. Let's just count the ways in which her policies have been a failure. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, the trade deficit in this country just topped $1 trillion. That's an incomprehensible amount of money, and thanks to Kamala Harris's leadership, we're going backwards when under Donald Trump's leadership, we were going forwards. Under Kamala Harris's leadership, the average Georgia family is spending about $1,000 more per month. That is $12,000 a year to afford today what they were buying when Donald Trump was president.
That's all over. That's all over. The extra money on bullshit now that you have to spend from before. A huge difference. My grocery bill compared to... I remember $400 will last you damn near close to a month. $400, it's barely a week. It's barely a week. Unless you eating rocks and noodles.
Of $12,000 a year on Georgia families, and Kamala Harris brags about how she wants to raise Americans' taxes. Well, unfortunately, she's already done it, but to the tune of about $12,000. It's a disgrace. Under Kamala Harris, groceries in the state of Georgia are up 32%. That's actually worse than it is across the country, and it's pretty damn bad across the country. Home prices are up 50% under Kamala Harris's leadership. And I know the media loves to talk about family issues, and they love to attack Republicans for not being pro-family. Well, look, the best way to be pro-family is to ensure that young American families can afford to buy a house in the greatest country on earth. And when Donald Trump is president, that's exactly what we're going to fight to make possible. The American dream of homeownership.
The whole meaning, if you actually pay attention, to put it in simple terms, conservative is basically like you don't spread your ass cheeks. I'm not trying to spit in my ass cheeks. I'm trying to, conserve my ass cheeks. Liberals are just like, nah, I'm going to share my ass cheeks. There's enough of my ass cheeks for everybody. Or I'm going to guilt you into it. That's basically the liberal. And you get fucked. Tell me where I'm lying.
Over 9% of credit card balances turned delinquent over the last year. That means 1 in 11 of our American families are sacrificing. They're not paying the credit card bill because they got to buy something else. Over 8% of auto loans turn delinquent. That's a lot of American families trying to make the car payment but can't afford it because of Kamala Harris's policies. Now, this is a person who, when she talks to the media, and she does it like 3 times her entire campaign, but when she dares to talk to the media, she talks about how she's going to tackle the inflation crisis, the affordability crisis. My friends, the affordability crisis is on us because of Kamala Harris's failed leadership. Let's get back to the common sense leadership of Donald J. Trump. Now let's just talk about Kamala Harris's interviews for a little bit, because it's interesting. I think she is the only presidential candidate in American history where every time she opens her mouth, the other side gets about 100,000 votes. So while I criticize Kamala for not doing interviews because I think it's disgraceful to run for the American people when you're asking for their vote, I also admit I'm a little bit biased. Because I want Kamala Harris to do interviews because I think it reveals just how hollow her entire agenda is. I want Kamala Harris to do interviews because every time that she does, I think the American people see through that this is a politician, a career politician running on slogans. Donald Trump and I are running on substance for how to...
He did just nail that, though. Running on slogans. She's a career politician. Nailed it.
Bring the American dream back, and that's a very different kind of campaign.
That's why every time she get around black, all she got for black folks is slogans. Weezer Beezer, where 59 in 1959, back then, and my mammy told me, raising black women's, what? This some lying bitch. And like someone called out earlier, I can't remember exactly. I think it's Candace, because Candace Owens is going the fuck in on her right now. Candace called her out for the greens, the collard green shit in the goddamn bathtub, not realizing that the whole reference wasn't an actual bathtub. They just cook it in a thing in which they call a fucking tub. But she's so stupid and ignorant, her team didn't even prepare her properly for that shit. She gonna, man, look. You better pray for Candace, because Candace better have her eyes and cues, because they're going to better watch out for them demons. They're going to try to protect that Kamala.
It's like, well, they'll say, well, what is your specific plan to solve the inflation crisis that your policies caused? Because don't let her ever forget, my friends, $4 trillion in spending, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote. And it's that spending that jacked up the price of food, groceries, housing, everything under her leadership. And they'll say, so what's your specific plan to solve this problem? And she'll say, well, I grew up in a middle-class family.
That's her, yeah.
And they'll talk about, remember when Donald Trump was president, the world was at the the greatest level of peace and stability it has been in a generation. Under your leadership, Kamala Harris, the world is on fire. We've got a war seemingly breaking out in every continent. What is your solution to bring peace and stability back to the world? And Kamala Harris will say, well, when I worked at McDonald's, I used to do the hash browns, and I was very good at it.
Right.
And anybody...
Bitch, when I worked at McDonald's, I used to do the hash browns. The fucking got to do with what people need taken care of. This is just a stupid... That's why I said, the more you pay attention to liberals, I believe they're out of their mind and they know it. Or maybe they don't know it. But they need us to desperately grasp to something. Because for some... understand, they're trying to convince us to be like them all the fucking time. And the more and more I pay attention to it, and like with the Bible and shit, I just go, yo, these people are fucking demonic. They need more of them. And there's nothing good that comes from them. They just need more of them. Just see this. Let me finish playing this shit. The more things you pay attention to.
Well, first of all, you're not answering the question, but second of all, Kamala, what the hell are you going to do? And the fact that you've done it. What is your solution to bring peace and stability back to the world? And Kamala Harris will say, well, when I worked at McDonald's, I used to do the hash browns, and I was very good at it. And anybody with an ounce of common sense is saying, well, first of all, you're not answering the question, but second of all, Kamala, what the hell are you going to do? And the fact that you can't answer that question suggests you shouldn't be anywhere near the Oval Office, and that's exactly what we're going to make sure never happens.
Exactly. Kind of my point of what I said earlier when I was listening to the motherfuckers in the House of Parliament up in Canada. I'm listening to the liberals, and it sound, I promise you, if I can find a fucking video, it sounds like you're listening to grown-ups. I'm talking about the conservatives. They're grown up. They sound grown up, talking grown up things. And the liberals sound like fucking babies, man. Just, it's weird. They're weirdos, man.
And look, it's not just the economic policies, because we know that Kamala Harris, every time that she makes a decision, it makes the American people worse off. Now, I was talking to Bert, the lieutenant governor, about this earlier today, and he, to his great credit, did what a leader should do. He showed up and surveyed the storm damage in the southeastern part of that state. And I know everybody here joins me in saying that our prayers are with the people recovering from these deadly, terrible storms. We're thinking about you. We're caring about you. But it's not just enough to think and care. As an American leader, it is your job to show up and do what is necessary. And here's what bothers me so much about Kamala Harris, and I think about all the things that we could criticize her on. But at the beginning of her administration, you know that she fought very hard to make sure that COVID relief money went to illegal aliens to the tune of $1,000.
Hold up one second. Let me update y'all. Sure Donald Trump just made an update. He just wrote, this is off his this is Donald Trump. He said reporters asked no questions to Kamala about her poor performance on the hurricane. I'm in North Carolina right now, and the people are angry at Kamala for doing nothing. This must have been just after he finished. We back? Hold up, make sure we back. I just hit my mic off. Yeah, this was right after he finished his speech.
Money went to illegal aliens. And she shows up to survey the storm damage a couple days ago, and she says that we're going to give $750 to the people suffering from these devastating storms.
Insanity.
Well, Kamala, I think you've got it exactly the opposite. The federal government ought to give all it can to the American citizens devastated by these storms, not to illegal aliens who have no right to be here. Done as borders are. I don't know if you saw this. We had a nice debate with Tim Walz a couple days ago. I think we did pretty well. I had fun. And I'll tell you that, the people ask where my strategy came from. It actually came from President Trump, because a few weeks ago I was talking to the president. We were shooting the breeze like we often do, and he said, "What are you going to do in this debate?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you think I ought to do in this debate?" and he said, just be really tough on her. And a kind of light bulb went off. You know, a lot of American citizens don't realize that Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote to cause all this inflation, $4 trillion in new spending. And a lot of Americans don't realize that Kamala Harris was the border czar during the worst border crisis in the history of this country. And I thought, you know, President Trump is exactly right. Why am I going to go after Tim Walz? I'm going to spend that 90 minutes and I'm going to hammer Kamala Harris on her failed record. And so that's what I did.
I find it funny whenever you question, and they do the same thing in Canada. Whenever you question the liberals on their fuck up, what they'll do is push the blame to the Republicans that were in before. They won't answer the question. They'll just go, oh, but you won't ask the question to the guy that used to be in. Motherfucker, we're right here right now with you trying to be in. What the fuck am I supposed to go back 12 years ago and ask the motherfucking president about these motherfuckers? I'm telling you, these motherfuckers is... Boy, they crazy.
But I saw that
and that's why I said, I'm wondering, are they actually knowing they're this stupid and they're purposely trying to drive sane people insane like them? Or they're actually just that fucking ditzy? Are they just this fucking ditzy type of people?
Yes, CBS, one of the, the fake journalists. 3 years ago, CBS ran a story calling Kamala Harris the border czar. And then they said, they had the audacity to say, well, J.D. Vance was missing context when he called Kamala Harris the border czar. Well, I guess CBS was missing context 3 years ago when they made the exact claim, but this is how it works, my friends. They run away from their record because Kamala Harris's record on the border is a disgrace. On day one, they did 94 executive orders undoing Donald Trump's incredible success at the southern border. They bragged about the fact that they wanted to open the American southern border, and that's exactly what happened. And thanks to their leadership, we've got a record amount of fentanyl coming into our communities. The Mexican drug cartels are running drugs, sex trafficking, and illegal guns in our communities. And it's funny to me, Kamala Harris says that she cares about crime, but she wants to do gun grabbing from lawful American citizens. I think if you care about crime, protect the rights of American citizens to own a gun if they so choose, and take the guns away from the Mexican drug cartels, but she wants to do exactly the opposite. Doesn't make any sense. So let's just talk about the contrast here between Kamala Harris's record and Donald Trump's record, and then, of course, the vision for the future. Because, look, I came from a working-class family. I was raised by a woman who would sometimes not pay her own medical bills so that she could put food on the table. God bless you, ma'am. I see you got my book there. And I got it. And by the way, you can buy that book wherever books are sold, my friends. But Donald Trump's economic plan is very simple. When we talk about bringing back American factories, you can't do that just with words. You got to have actual action behind it. And you know how you're going to bring back American factories? Two things. Number one, drill, baby, drill. Open up American energy, produce it with American workers. And the second thing you got to do is you got to stop foreign countries from undercutting Americans with cheap labor. Now look, the Chinese Communist Party, they're more than willing to let people work at literal slave wages and then try to bring those products into the United States. Yeah. That's how you close factories like the one that we're standing right next to, is you allow foreign countries to undercut the wages of American workers. You know what Donald Trump is going to do? He's going to slap a big fat tariff on everything coming in from China because we're going to protect American workers. We're going to protect their jobs.
Uh-oh. PlayStation price going up.
Donald Trump wants to cut taxes for American working families and raise tariffs on the foreign countries.
No, but you know what would be nice though? I remember when I grew up, not that I'm old, but I feel like I'm the last of the kids that maybe not my dad, but people who I grew up with, where their fathers or grandfathers grew up in the car factories. They were all over North America, and that shit's like gone. You don't even know, like, who are the dudes that work at car factories? I remember it all the time. Dudes are, yeah, my dad works at the car shop, blah, 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 car factory, blah, blah. Now it's all just a bunch of fucking imported shit that they can't sell. Tons of it. Then they got to ship it back and it goes sits elsewhere till whatever the fuck else they do with it.
Foreign companies that are shipping jobs overseas. Kamala Harris wants to raise your taxes and facilitate the people who are shipping jobs overseas. I think that Donald Trump's plan makes a lot more sense, don't you? Kamala Harris wants to further open the border. She wants to grant asylum and parole to millions upon millions of illegal aliens. Donald Trump wants to build the wall and send those illegal aliens back home. They don't belong in this country. They belong in their own. And I want to send a message to everybody who's in this country illegally. While you've heard from Kamala Harris that she's going to give you free Medicare benefits and free health care benefits, she's going to give you free housing benefits paid for by American taxpayers, Donald Trump's going to win the White House. We all believe that, right? So our message to illegal aliens who are in this country without the consent of the American people is, you got 4 months, pack your bags because you're going home.
Arriba! There go! So they got 4 months. October, November, December, yeah, about 4 months. Oh, shit. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of civil unrest. There's going to be a lot of, I think they're going to start, they're going to be with the Liberal Underground Railroad. I can see the liberals now. Oh, no, we going to save you. He'll start seeing fucking little Guatemalan families in these little liberal basements and shit. Keeping them under, keep quiet. Keep quiet. There's a white man. This shit about to be popping. I will be here for all the entertainment. And I'm here to watch this shit because the world, if you actually pay attention, the world's actually, it's actually going through its Bible phases, man. I feel like we're going through that phase where society's about to go to shit and it ain't about to be good anytime soon. So I'm going to just be as prepared as I can for my family and not allow these motherfuckers to stress my motherfucking life. And just pay attention to what's going on and laugh at a lot of the dumb shit.
Under Kamala Harris's leadership, I couldn't believe this. I had to double check it. 425,000 illegal migrant criminals are in the United States of America. That's more than twice the size of the U.S. Marine Corps. That's crazy. We got some Marines out there, I'm sure. Semper Fi to the Marines. But, I think if anything, we ought to make the Marine Corps a little bit bigger and shrink the size of the illegal migrant crime population in this country. I think Kamala's got it backwards. There are over 400,000 illegal aliens in the state of Georgia. 120,000 Georgian students are the children of illegal immigrants. Think about what that does to the education of Georgia children when you drop in over 100,000 kids, many of whom don't speak English. And look, I've got all the compassion in the world for these innocent kids. We're not mad at the kids for coming into this country. We're mad at Kamala Harris for letting the Mexican drug cartels do drug trafficking and sex trafficking in the United States of America. But it's something that Kamala and her friends and Tim Walz always say. They talk about being compassionate. They talk about compassion for illegal immigrants. And look, I've got nothing against people who want to come into this country. My message is simple. Come through the proper channels. But what about compassion for America's citizens? The American leadership ought to care about our people. The American president ought to put the interests of American citizens first. And if you want to have compassion for anybody, Kamala Harris, let's start with compassion for people who lost their jobs because of your policies. If you want to have compassion, let's start with compassion for people who can't afford their mortgage or their car payments because of your policies. If you want to talk about compassion, let's talk about the 100,000 Americans who are dying of fentanyl overdoses because of your policies. Compassion for the American president ought to start with the American people, and that's exactly where Donald Trump and I put our compassion. It's with our citizens and the people who deserve to be here.
How old is J.D. Vance? Hold on, I'll check my phone.
You know, I want to say just a couple other things, and I know we got some press back here. I'll take a few questions, because whether they're friendly or hostile, don't you believe a person running for vice president ought to talk to the American people? Common sense?
Okay. He's younger than me.
But I want to tell you a little story. So a couple weeks ago, and it feels like it was longer.
Don't look like it, but he younger than me.
But a couple weeks ago, and of course the Democrats try to lie about this and forget about it. But I was sitting at home. It was a Sunday, and it was a rare Sunday where I was just hanging out with my 7-year-old son. I get a phone call from the president. And I answer it. He says, JD, you're never going to believe what happened. I said, President Trump, what's going on? He said, they did it again. I said, what do you mean? He said, they tried to shoot me again. And this was before it became public. It was about 1:45 in the afternoon, and he told me the story of how there was a guy hiding in the bushes who, you know, was going to take his life, but luckily a Secret Service agent saw the gunman. They fired at him. The gunman ran off, and of course, Donald Trump's life was saved. And let's thank the brave Secret Service agents for doing their job. And I'll tell you, you know, I never had a Secret Service detail, of course, in my life. I love these guys. They're doing a great job. But I've got just one complaint about the Secret Service, the guys on the ground who are protecting me and my family. I wish they would drive a little bit faster. So, gentlemen, I love you, but we don't have to drive Miss Daisy anymore. We can go faster than 62 miles per hour on the highway. I've got a bit of a lead foot myself, so being driven around by a bunch of guys who can't go over 65, it's getting to me. But look, so the president, I was kind of shaken up by it, because of course he's my friend and he's my running mate, but most importantly, I think he's going to make a great next American president of the United States. But you know, like any human being, I was worried about him, and so I said, well, sir, are you doing okay? I mean, clearly you're physically okay. You wouldn't be calling me, but are you okay? And he said, yeah, I'm fine. You know, I'm kind of pissed off, though. And I thought he was going to say, I'm pissed off they tried to shoot me. He said, they wouldn't let me finish playing golf. I was about to make a birdie on the 6th hole. And something struck me at that moment, that as much as the Democrats lie about Donald Trump, this is a man with the character to be president of the United States. And here's what I mean by this. What you want in a president of the United States is not a person who's terrified of the American media. You want a person who's willing to sit down and take some tough questions. You don't want a person who, when a terrible tragedy, even a very traumatic thing happens to them personally, you want somebody who stands up afterwards, puts their fist in the air, and says, fight, fight, fight. You want a guy who's calm, who is calm and compassionate. You remember that moment where he nearly lost his life in Butler, PA? He called for national unity, and he called for everybody to tone down the rhetoric. And when he had gotten almost shot again on his golf course in Florida, he had the wherewithal to make some jokes and to sort of reassure his buddy that he was doing okay. That is the person you want to answer the phone when a major world crisis breaks out. That is the person you want in the situation room when times are really tough. That is the person you want calling the shots in times of peace or war. You want a man who can stand in the gap, who can literally take a bullet and keep his composure and stay who he is. That's Donald J. Trump. That's why we got to make him the next president of the United States, because we need a leader in the Oval Office, not a follower like Kamala Harris. So I want to just say, you know, and this is a message to everybody here, but especially to those who are watching. You know, the thing that I've picked up on is there are a lot of Americans who are worried whether the American dream is still possible anymore. And I believe that it is. I wouldn't be standing here. Think about everything that's happened in my life. I was raised by a woman who didn't graduate from high school. I was raised by my grandmother because my mom struggled with opioid addiction. And I'm standing up here.
I thought all these Republican dudes was like, come from rich families, all of them. That's what the media be saying. Every time Kamala and them open their mouth again, y'all don't get where we come from because y'all are all silver spoons and getting everything. Liars. They think that everybody don't be paying attention or everybody don't experience. They think that other people are stupid and don't experience other people's experience. Or we don't meet other people. Like, I think what liberals try to do is they think that on a day-to-day basis, we don't meet people that are fucking Republicans or conservative. So, like, we don't relate to them in no way. We don't even know them. Everybody who we know, if we're from the hood, man, they liberals. What you mean? That's how they act. As if we've never encountered any of these motherfuckers.
It's a beautiful state asking you to make me your next vice president of the United States. This is a hell of a country, my friends. Don't ever forget that. Y'all gonna make me blush here. I'm already red enough. It's pretty hot out here. But look, I want to speak directly to those who are worried about whether the American dream is still possible. Because I know there are a lot of folks who can't afford their mortgage right now. There are a lot of folks worried about how they're going to pay for their prescription drugs. There are a lot of grandparents out there taking care of grandkids they weren't expecting to take care of. There are a lot of people who are struggling under Kamala Harris's leadership. And I just want you to know that in 32 days, we're going to change the leadership of this country, and we're going to rebuild the American dream stronger than ever. Keep faith in our country, keep faith in our people, keep faith amongst ourselves, because Kamala Harris, I'm telling you, we're going to look back at Kamala Harris as a blip in the radar, as a one brief exception to the greatest American story and the greatest American the greatest America that we could ever hope for. Because Kamala Harris is not big enough to take on the United States of America. The United States of America is going to fire her, send her back to California where she belongs, and give the American people a president they deserve, and it's going to start with all of you. God bless you all. Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. And I know we'll take a few questions from the media. We'll keep it brief because it is hot out here. But if you're a reporter, especially a local reporter, I'd love to take your question.
Excellent. Go ahead. Senator. Hi. Donald Sells with the Atlanta Voice. I wanted to ask you, what do you think about former President Trump having a third debate, a second with VP Harris, and maybe having it run like the one you just did, which seemed to focus mainly on policy and not on insults?
Well, I think, first of all, I think Kamala Harris already had an opportunity to do a second debate, and she turned it down. I really think it's important that the media gets this story right, because there was an opportunity for Kamala Harris to do a second debate, but she said she didn't want to debate on Fox News, and so that's her decision to deprive the American people of a second presidential debate. But I think you're right, actually, that our debate focused more on policy than the first presidential debate, because the moderators were a complete disgrace, and Kamala Harris doesn't know how to talk about policy, so I'm not surprised the first debate was so empty of substance. But what's interesting to me is you ask Donald Trump what he wants to do, and he will give you an answer. What does Donald Trump want to do about foreign policy? What does he want to do about Russia, Ukraine? What does he want to do about Israel, Iran? But most importantly, what does he want to do to lower prices for the American people? And he will give you an answer. The reason Donald Trump will give you an answer and Kamala Harris will give you a slogan is because Donald Trump shows leadership and Kamala Harris shows the exact opposite of it. So that is the truth of the American people. Do a couple more questions. Quick.
Senator, a judge in Georgia this week struck down the state's abortion restrictions. And the Attorney General has appealed to try to get that law reinstated. Do you think that law should be reinstated?
Look, what the Georgia appeals court or a Georgia trial court, or frankly, even the people of Georgia believe about this issue is ultimately up to the people of Georgia. They got to make this decision. What President Trump and I have said repeatedly is that we want our national government to focus on the national issues, close down the border, lower the price of housing, make groceries more affordable for American citizens. We got credit card delinquencies that have skyrocketed in the last couple of weeks. We got to get an economy back that works for normal American hardworking people again, and it's a disgrace what Kamala Harris has done. But look, on the abortion question, what Donald Trump has said, he couldn't be more clear, is he wants the people of Georgia to make this decision. In the same way he wants the people of California to make the decision for the people of California. And we're a big enough country that we can agree or disagree with one another on these issues, but the national government is going to be focused on national issues, and the people of Georgia can make up their own minds, and we support the people of Georgia. Next question.
Thank you for doing this, Senator. My question for you is, what do you have to say about President Trump pushing and claiming that FEMA is running out of money for hurricane relief because of funding for programs that support migrants?
Well, let me say a couple things about this. First of all, the idea that FEMA is running out of money is something that the leadership of the Harris administration has said. That especially if there's another disaster, they've said that they might have to go back to the well. And I think a lot of Americans are saying, well, how can we afford to give billions of dollars to illegal immigrants in this country, but we've got to go back to the well to provide disaster relief for our own citizens? That's a disgrace. Now, the media's obsessed with, well, there's one bucket of money over here and there's another bucket of money over here. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that our own government is sending billions of dollars to illegal aliens when there are hardworking Americans. We got to focus on them. Focus on our American citizens who have had their lives destroyed by these terrible storms. That's what Kamala Harris ought to be doing, and it's a damn shame that she's not doing her job.
Hi, Senator. Thank you for doing this. President Trump often describes the 2020 election as rigged, and he often uses the term to describe what he sees as fraud in that election. Trump said that again yesterday at a rally in Michigan. Senator, would you use that specific term, rigged? You have said in the past you have concerns about election integrity in the past and going forward, and do you concur with the president that the 2020 election was rigged?
Well, look, So I'm from Ohio. I'm not from the South, but I think in the South there's a phrase that really works. Bless your heart. Look, man. First of all, we're focused on the future. In this election and in this campaign. If you look at what President Trump says, what I say, we are focused on the future. Every single day, hardworking Americans are suffering because of Kamala Harris's policies. It is a disaster, and I think it's interesting that the American media wants to talk so much about 2020. And the reason they want to talk about 2020 is because they don't want to talk a lick about what happened afterwards. And what happened afterwards is that Kamala Harris opened the border, jacked up the price of food, jacked up the price of housing, and American citizens are suffering from it. It is a disgrace. From the Harris campaign and for the American media, we ought to talk about her failed record, and that's what Donald Trump and I are going to keep on doing. Now, you asked the question, and I believe that it's important to answer the question. Let me just tell you one thing that even the liberal media has said happened in 2020. There was a bombshell story that suggested the Biden family had some very corrupt business dealings with some foreign countries. It was all in the infamous Hunter Biden laptop. That happened in 2020. Now, the media, the big tech companies censored that story. And independent people have said that probably cost Donald Trump hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of votes. Now, I don't care what you call that, but it's a damn shame and we can't accept it in our country. You want to call that rigged? Call it whatever you want to. It's unacceptable to happen in the world's greatest constitutional republic. I see another hand. I'll do one more, and then we'll have to hit the road.
Thanks, Senator. It's Kip Maher again. I wanted to ask you, in Melania Trump's book, she voices support for abortion rights. Does that impact the way that you see this issue? And what state, among all the states, do you think has the best abortion policy in your view? And then quickly, if you could have a comment on Trump and Kemp meeting for the first time since 2020 today.
Yeah, so there was a lot there. Let me first briefly. I think Brian Kemp. I understand that he and the president have had some disagreements in the past, but they're on the same team to defeat Kamala Harris, and that's a very good thing. And all of us, whatever part of the Republican Party we came from, the primary is over. Let's get on the same team and bring common sense governance back to the American people. I'm glad to have Brian Kemp on that team. I'm thrilled to have, of course, Donald Trump on that team. I'm thrilled to have Bobby Kennedy on that team because the American people are sick of the BS. And by the way, I've been asked by some folks about, to comment on Liz Cheney. I think we just traded Liz Cheney for Tulsi Gabbard. That's the biggest upgrade in American politics, and I'm awfully happy about it. Now, you asked about the First Lady's abortion views. Look, I love Melania. I think she's a great wife to the president. She's been I think a great example of grace under an incredible amount of pressure. But Melania is entitled to her own views in the same way the people of Georgia are entitled to their own views. And I don't believe I have to attack or disagree or criticize anybody on this issue because our campaign is focused, again, on inflation, on securing the border, on making life more affordable, on bringing good jobs to the state of Georgia and the whole country. So, look, I think she's a smart person. I think she's going to express her views. She's entitled to do it. But it doesn't change how I talk about this issue or how the campaign talks about the issue. And then the final point I want to make here, just because I know that we're running short on time, and I want to look at my notes here because I want to make sure I get this website right. Write this all down if you can. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. SwampTheVoteUSA.com. Okay? I want y'all to go to this website because here's the thing. We're never going to have the dishonest press. We're never going to have, of course, the Democrats telling the truth. But what we do have is people power in the United States of America. We've got the ability to get out there and person to person make our voices heard, but it's not going to happen unless we get out there and vote. Georgia has made some serious progress. Y'all passed a very common sense voter ID measure a few years ago. You remember that? By the way, speaking of Brian Kemp, thank you for signing that legislation. But I think we have an opportunity in the state of Georgia to not just win, but to win in a very big way. So what I'm going to ask you to do, and please take this to heart, is get out there, not just get yourself to the polls, whether you're voting early, voting by mail, or voting on election day, try to get 9 people. If every single person gets 9 people to join them at the polls, I think that we are going to have a crushing victory in the state of Georgia, and we're going to make this country great again. So please remember, we're not just running this race because it's going to be fun to beat the Democrats, but it is going to be fun to beat the Democrats. My friends, trust me, I'm gonna enjoy that. We're running this race because the American people have been failed by their government, and that has got to change. I want you all to see yourselves as fighters, as warriors, to give the great American people the government they deserve.
All right, hold on one second. Let me see if I can check something out before I get out of here. See if I can put that on. One sec.
The Honorable Leader of the Opposition. Mr. Speaker, this is the most costly centralizing government in Canadian history. This government is bad for Quebec. The government has broken the immigration system, doubled the cost of housing, and doubled the debt. That's why it's incredibly...
You understand? It's the same. It's not French the whole time. They just use it. They'll do French versions and English. It's fucking not complicated if you know what the fuck's going on. But anyway, you'll notice it's the same arguments in Canada and the States. It's the same issues. Immigration, inflation. The liberals are lying. The conservatives are all like, "Hold up, bro. We gotta fix this shit." And the liberals are, "Oh no, we gotta these." The world going to shit, man. I think a lot of people need to get the fuck out of the system. Because if we continues down this fucking hole of playing this two-party shit when we're watching criminals take place right now, right in front of us, we need to do something we ain't did in a long time. Some politicians need to be put away for a very long time. In better words.
That the Bloc Québécois leader has become the worst negotiator in Canadian history. The Bloc Québécois leader decided to vote 2 more times their confidence in this government to keep them in power without gaining a thing for agriculture or for seniors. Does the government wish to thank
Where's the English?
Mr. Speaker?
I want the English.
Not important to him.
There it is, there. There's the English.
Are trying to... Mr. Speaker, again, the leader of the opposition is negating to tell the whole truth to Canadians, because what the Conservatives are doing are trying to use the extraordinary powers of this place to circumvent the judicial requirement of police to protect the charter rights of Canadians. Now, I want to believe that the leader of the opposition doesn't understand what he's doing, but I'm even more concerned that he does understand, and the charter rights of Canadians are not important to him.
Let me see if that question was asked in English real quick. Let me go back to Pierre.
Evidence in the criminal...
There it is. Boom. That's what I wanted to see. I wonder if this is the question that they're investigating. I guess the RCMP's coming out investigating the Liberals and Justin Trudeau. Let me go back to this here real quick.
Paralyzed, unable to work on the problem of doubling housing costs or 2 million people at the food bank because the government is refusing to respect your ruling to turn over evidence in the criminal investigation of the latest Liberal scandal. At issue is that Liberal appointees directed $400 million to companies they own involving 184 conflicts of interest according to the Auditor General. Why is the Prime Minister breaking your ruling to cover up criminal evidence in the latest Liberal scandal?
Honorable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, the leader of the opposition is negating to tell the whole truth to Canadians, because what the Conservatives are doing are trying to use the extraordinary powers of this place to circumvent the judicial requirement of police to protect the charter rights of Canadians. Now, I want to believe that the leader of the...
What the fuck does that... See what I'm saying? What does that got to do with digging in the Liberals and their big crooks? You trying to right the Canadians, you mother...
The opposition doesn't understand what he's doing, but I'm even more concerned that he does understand, and the charter rights of Canadians...
Anyways, let me get out of here. I just want...